16 years later, I finally returned to Oblivion. Was it worth it? The release of Oblivion Remastered was a surprise to most of us. They had little to no marketing for it and surprise released it. I haven't played Oblivion in over 16 years. I first got into it after playing Morrowind on my dad's original Xbox, and while the storytelling hooked me, I'll admit, as a kid, Morrowind was overwhelming. Oblivion came a bit later for me. Growing up, I couldn't always afford new games, so it was a delayed purchase. Now, as an adult, I finally come back to Oblivion after sinking in some serious playtime. The question is, does it still hold up, or is this just nostalgia talking? The Oblivion Remastered UI is miles ahead of the original. It's cleaner, more streamlined, and actually gives you useful information. One small but huge quality of life change is that you can now see if containers or enemies are empty before you open them. No more checking the same chest for the 80th time just in case you miss something. That alone saves so much time. Although one thing I would have liked to see is if I have cleared a dungeon. This was one of the best additions to Skyrim in my opinion. It ensures you don't miss anything and you finally know when you finish clearing it out. This is still absent from Oblivion. The spell and inventory menus are also way better. Swapping gear or toggling spells is much smoother and more intuitive compared to the original. That being said, one thing that still bugs me is the interaction system. It's always felt a bit clunky. You're stuck picking options that lower someone's disposition, and it doesn't feel as natural as the dialogue in, say, Fallout 4 or Skyrim. But to be fair, this is a remaster, not a full remake. Maybe they wanted to stay true to that classic Oblivion feel. I get it, even if it's not my favorite part. The quest selection and map filtering tools are also super helpful as well. The quests are still vague and require you to pay more attention than you're used to in maybe Skyrim, let's say, but they're still really fun. I also really love the new quick spell menu. In the original, you could assign spells to hotkeys. Most of the time, you'd end up pausing the game to dig through the menu and manually select what you needed. Now you can assign spells to a handy radial wheel and swap between them using bumpers on a controller. It's another major time saver and makes the whole gameplay experience feel way smoother and more modern. The new major skill selection and leveling system strikes a great balance between Skyrim and classic Oblivion. You no longer risk completely gridlocking your character or hitting frustrating progression walls. It's much more forgiving and intuitive. You can also now choose where you're leveling up, specifically putting points into things you favor, either focusing on one trait or spreading them out, no longer relying on the original system. Enemy scaling is also supposedly improved, so you're not consistently getting out-leveled in every fight. Personally, I haven't noticed a huge difference in how it's handled, but I can say this. I've never felt completely overwhelmed or unfairly punished. The difficulty feels just right, challenging without being overly brutal. One of the biggest changes, and I mean huge, is the movement. It's so much smoother, more responsive, and just feels right. And yes, we finally have sprinting. That alone is a pretty big game changer. Honestly, it's kind of wild to think how essential sprinting feels now, especially with how fast-paced modern games are. If you're a new, younger player, jumped into old Oblivion and moved around like a snail, I don't think you'd be able to handle it, and would probably go straight back to Fortnite or COD. Another improvement is the third-person camera. In the original, it felt awkward and kind of like an afterthought, clunky and barely usable, but now it's smooth and totally playable. I still prefer first-person myself, but for those who like third-person, it's a huge upgrade worth mentioning. The fighting feels smoother and more fleshed out than before, as well with some more animations and hit animations to really show and make you feel like you're doing damage to the enemy. There are also some nice improvements to lip syncing, and they even re-recorded dialogue lines and added more voice actors and ambient sounds to meet today's standards.
What is it, citizen?
My name is Elregale.
At first, it didn't seem like a big deal, but the more I think about it, if they'd kept the original audio, it probably would have felt jarring or out of place. So honestly, props to the team for putting in that extra effort. It's one of those subtle upgrades you don't really notice until it's missing, and that says a lot. Obviously, graphics are a huge part of this. It is a remaster, and the game looks fantastic. I'm playing on Xbox Series X, and I haven't had any noticeable frame drops or performance issues aside from the occasional crash. Thankfully, the autosave system is actually useful and consistent this time around. I rarely have to think about saving, which is a huge relief. Coming from Skyrim, where the autosave basically only kicks in when you walk through doors, I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten to save and ended up hiking 2 miles back to a quest. So not having to worry about that in Oblivion Remastered is pretty nice. Now, if you're on PC and don't have a top-tier graphics card, like me, still running a 3080, thanks tariffs. You might struggle due to it using the new Unreal Engine 5. I pretty much couldn't run the game properly at all on my computer. So for once, console players are actually in luck. I run the game on performance mode instead of graphics mode, or I think it's fidelity, because I value those extra frames, but even still, it still looks really good. Albeit with some frame stuttering when you're in the open world, but for me at least, it wasn't really a noticeable issue. Now the game is priced to $50, which I think is a pretty smart move. Bethesda clearly knew a lot of people would want to revisit Oblivion, and making it slightly cheaper than a full $70 release probably helped boost the interest. It's also available on Game Pass now that Bethesda is owned by Microsoft, but only on the Ultimate tier, which runs about $15 a month. Now I get it, most people like to own their games outright, but if you're on the fence about buying the game, Game Pass is a great way to test it out without committing to a full price. Honestly, you'll probably get your money's worth just from this game alone. I use Game Pass to play older titles like Skyrim, the original Oblivion, Morrowind, and now the remaster, and having them all on console and PC is super convenient. Even better, your saves transfer across platforms if you're using Game Pass, which is a huge plus if you like to play on both. And no, I'm not sponsored or anything by Microsoft, I just genuinely think it's not a bad service. Also, the remaster comes with all the DLCs included in the base version, so there's no need to buy the extra expansions. If you do want some extra stuff or exclusive armor, or bonus content, there is a $10 upgrade, basically bringing it back to full price, but it's optional. Overall, I think I'd give Oblivion Remastered a solid 9 out of 10. Aside from a few original quirks and the occasional crash, this is still an incredible remaster. It really feels like the team put in the effort to modernize the experience and fix some of the more dated mechanics. While full mod support isn't quite there yet, the game still seems similar enough under the hood that mods are working, just not officially supported yet. But given Bethesda's history with modding, I wouldn't be surprised if that changes down the line. Yes, this game is definitely riding a bit of the nostalgia wave. It was a beloved title that brought a lot of people into the Elder Scrolls universe, but it doesn't feel like a lazy nostalgia cash grab. With how much time has passed, this remaster will probably be the first experience for a whole new generation of players, and honestly, it holds up. In some ways, it's even better now and more refined. I really hope Bethesda keeps remastering more of their older games, especially with how long the release cycles are. This is a smart, fun way to keep fans engaged while we wait for their next release. So, what did you think of Oblivion Remastered? Did you agree with my points? Drop a comment down below and let me know, and as always, thanks for watching.